The hidden problem with self-improvement. In today's culture, self-improvement is a badge of honor. We're told to optimize every part of our lives, our productivity, our health, our minds, even our sleep. The shelves are stacked with books promising transformation. Your feed is flooded with morning routines, biohacks, and personal growth mantras. But beneath all this hustle is a haunting question we rarely ask. When will it be enough? This video explores the myth of the self-improvement trap, a cycle where chasing growth becomes a form of self-rejection, a pursuit that promises wholeness but leaves us feeling even more incomplete. As philosopher Alan Watts once said, no valid plans for the future can be made by those who have no capacity for living now. Yet that's what self-improvement often does. It pushes us into the future, promising arrival but delivering a moving target. In the next 5 sections, we'll uncover why you never feel like you've arrived, the paradox of growth, and how thinkers like Nietzsche, Lao Tzu, Sartre, Epictetus, and Alan Watts understood this long before it became a billion-dollar industry. Let's begin by understanding where the trap begins, the pursuit of the ideal self. The trap is set. From childhood, we're taught to measure ourselves against an ideal, the better version of ourselves, get better grades, earn more money, look a certain way. The idea is once you close the gap between who you are and who you could be, then you'll finally be happy. But this creates a psychological loop known as the arrival fallacy. It's the illusion that happiness lies on the other side of achievement. Once we reach the goal, lose the weight, get the job, hit the milestone, then we'll feel fulfilled. In reality, that moment is fleeting. After every arrival comes a new goal, a new metric, a higher bar. The cycle never ends. Philosopher Soren Kierkegaard warned us of this trap, calling it the despair of the finite self, the self always trying to become something instead of being something. He wrote, "The self is a relation which relates itself to its own self." In other words, we suffer when our entire identity is externalized into a version we've not yet become. Modern neuroscience backs this up. Studies in goal-oriented dopamine pathways show that dopamine peaks during pursuit, not at attainment. This means we're biologically wired to feel good chasing goals, not reaching them, so we keep chasing. But here's the twist. The more you chase the ideal, the more you reinforce that who you are right now is not enough. It's not growth. It's self-abandonment dressed as ambition versus acceptance, the inner conflict. There's a fundamental tension in self-improvement. It tells you to be better because you are not okay as you are, yet psychological healing begins with the opposite message, acceptance of what is. This conflict creates what philosopher Alan Watts called the double bind of self-improvement. He said, it's like trying to bite your own teeth. If you're always trying to fix yourself, you are stuck in the belief that you are broken. Even mindfulness, a tool meant to bring peace, is often hijacked by the improvement mindset. People meditate not to connect with the present, but to become more productive, more focused, more efficient. But presence by nature has no agenda. When used as a tool for optimization, even mindfulness becomes a performance. Epictetus, a Stoic philosopher, offered a solution rooted in internal freedom. He said, "Freedom is the only worthy goal in life. It is won by disregarding things that lie beyond our control. Constantly trying to prove yourself in response to external pressures is a form of enslavement." Modern psychology echoes this. Radical acceptance, a therapeutic concept by psychologist Tara Brach, shows that real growth begins not through striving but through embracing the present moment, including our flaws, pain, and perceived inadequacies. Improvement isn't the problem. It's improvement without acceptance that creates suffering. The illusion of control, the false god of mastery. Self-improvement often sells control over your mind, your body, your outcomes. But the more we try to micromanage life, the more fragile we become. Perfection becomes the standard. Flexibility disappears. Friedrich Nietzsche called this the will to power, the drive to dominate chaos, but he also warned that unchecked will turns inward and becomes destructive. He wrote, "He who despises himself still respects himself as one who despises." Self-hatred hides beneath obsessive self-control. Today's optimization culture, tracking every step, every calorie, every minute of productivity, can feed this pathology. It teaches us that perfection is a choice and any deviation is a moral failure, but life is unpredictable. We get sick, we lose focus, we suffer loss. Lao Tzu, the ancient Taoist sage, offered a counterpoint. He who controls others may be powerful, but he who has mastered himself is mightier still. But in Taoism, mastery means flowing with life, not mastering life. New research in behavioral science confirms this. Overstructuring goals can lead to rigidity, burnout, a condition where discipline becomes demoralizing. Flexibility, not control, is now seen as a key predictor of long-term well-being. The self-improvement trap convinces us that certainty and perfection are signs of progress. In truth, our strength lies in the ability to respond, not to control. 4. Comparison, ego, and the capitalist self. Much of modern self-improvement isn't about becoming better for yourself, it's about becoming better than others. This is the toxic core of the competitive mindset we absorbed from capitalism and social media. Your body must look better, your income must be higher, your mindset must be superior. You're told to crush the competition, not coexist with it. Jean-Paul Sartre saw this coming in his concept of bad faith, living in denial of one's own freedom by conforming to social roles. He said, hell is other people, not because people are bad, but because we define ourselves through their gaze. Social media makes this literal. We curate personas, compare metrics, and use growth as a new form of virtue signaling. But ego-based self-improvement always leads to exhaustion. The philosopher Simone de Beauvoir wrote, "To be oneself is to be free, but that self must come from authenticity, not algorithm." Modern improvement culture often serves systems that profit from your insecurity. It markets inadequacy and sells you a solution in return. Real growth comes from detachment, from recognizing that you are not your achievements, followers, or abs. You are a process, not a product, and there is no finish line. The path forward's growth without a rival. So what now? Are we supposed to stop growing, stop striving, stop dreaming? Not at all. But the way forward is not about rejecting self-improvement, it's about redefining it. The philosopher Alan Watts suggested that instead of climbing a ladder, life is more like a dance. He said the purpose of dancing is not to arrive at a particular place on the floor. The purpose of dancing is to enjoy each step along the way. This shift changes everything. Growth becomes an expression of self-love, not self-loathing. You journal not to fix yourself, but to understand yourself. You exercise not to punish your body, but to honor it. You pursue goals not to become worthy, but because you already are. Carl Rogers, one of the most influential psychologists of the 20th century, said it best. The curious paradox is that when I accept myself just as I am, then I can change. Modern studies in positive psychology support this. Self-compassion is more predictive of lasting change than self-criticism. In fact, people who approach growth with kindness sustain motivation longer and relapse less. In the end, the trap of self-improvement is not in the effort, but in the belief that there's a perfect destination called arrived. There isn't. There never was. You don't need to become someone else to be complete. Growth is beautiful, but you were already enough before you began. The productivity paradox, when doing more means being less. In the self-improvement narrative, productivity is king. You're taught to get more done in less time, to optimize your schedule to the second, to eliminate wasted time. On the surface, it seems harmless, even beneficial, but beneath it lies a dangerous philosophy. You are what you produce. This mindset turns you into a machine. You're no longer a human being, but a human doing. Leisure becomes guilt-inducing. Rest is seen as laziness. Even hobbies are monetized. This isn't growth. This is performance anxiety wrapped in a to-do list. Bertrand Russell, in his essay in Praise of Idleness, argued the morality of work is the morality of slaves, and the modern world has no need of slavery. He believed that excessive work narrows the mind and kills creativity. Instead of constant action, he promoted meaningful idleness, a time when the mind can wander, imagine, and connect. The irony? Some of the most powerful insights, innovations, and personal revelations emerge not in moments of high output, but in stillness and boredom. Studies in cognitive neuroscience back this. The default mode network, the DMN, the brain's introspective and imaginative center, activates during rest. This network is essential for self-awareness, problem-solving, and creativity, but is only active when we stop doing. Yet most self-improvement systems ignore this. They sell tools to go faster, not space to go deeper. Even meditation is turned into a metric. Track your streaks, your focus score, your calm minutes. This is the productivity paradox. The more you try to optimize every moment, the more you crowd out the moments that matter. Lao Tzu understood this centuries ago. He wrote, "By doing nothing, everything is done." It sounds paradoxical, but it's a call to align with the natural rhythm of life. Some seasons are for action, others are for stillness. Without both, you're out of balance. True productivity isn't about doing more, it's about doing what matters. And sometimes that means doing nothing at all, because in those pauses, your true self begins to speak. Identity addiction. When the self becomes a project, one of the most dangerous side effects of self-improvement is identity addiction. The idea that your entire sense of worth hinges on becoming a certain version of yourself. We start treating ourselves like projects, constantly tweaking, analysing and measuring. Every trait becomes something to upgrade. Every flaw becomes something to fix. But the more we work on ourselves, the more we reinforce the belief that the real us, the present us, isn't enough. This is not self-love. This is chronic self-critique masked as progress. Arthur Schopenhauer, a German philosopher, once said, "A man can do what he wills, but he cannot will what he wills." In other words, even your desires for self-improvement are shaped by forces beyond you. Culture, trauma, upbringing and comparison. Think about it. How much of your self-improvement is truly your own? And how much is borrowed from influencers, societal standards or insecurity? Modern psychology calls this introjected motivation. When we adopt goals imposed by others and mistake them for our own, it leads to burnout, perfectionism and a deep sense of dissatisfaction even after achieving what we thought we wanted. Sartre warned us against defining ourselves through others. He believed in radical freedom, the ability to construct meaning and identity from within. But most of us never learn that freedom. We're taught to improve in order to fit in, succeed or be liked, not to truly understand or express who we are. Even the act of becoming your best self can become tyrannical. What if your best self isn't more productive, more attractive or more successful, but simply more present, more honest and more connected? There's a freedom in letting go of self-perfection and embracing self-compassion. As Carl Jung said, "I'm not what happened to me, I'm what I choose to become." But becoming should emerge from your center, not from the pressure to meet someone else's idea of best. You are not a project, you are a person who can grow and evolve without needing to prove your worth at every step. Ancient Greek philosophy of growth, wholeness over arrival. What if self-improvement wasn't about arriving at a fixed version of success, but about unfolding into wholeness? Not becoming perfect, but becoming complete, even with your contradictions, flaws and doubts. In ancient Greek philosophy, the idea of eudaimonia was central. It didn't mean happiness in the modern sense, but flourishing, living in alignment with your true nature. This concept, championed by Aristotle, emphasized virtue, purpose, and self-acknowledgement, not external achievement. Aristotle wrote, "Knowing yourself is the beginning of all wisdom," yet modern self-improvement skips this foundational step. It pushes action without awareness, change without clarity, and ambition without soul. To move forward, we need a new philosophy of growth. 1. Growth should be rooted in compassion. This means recognizing your inherent worth even before you achieve anything. As Thich Nhat Hanh said, "You are already enough. You don't need to do anything to be worthy." 2. Growth should be cyclical, not linear. Life unfolds in seasons: growth, rest, decay, and renewal. The idea of constant upward motion is unnatural. Accepting setbacks as part of the process is what gives them meaning. 3. Growth should come from joy, not fear. True transformation happens when you're pulled by vision, not pushed by shame. Let inspiration, not inadequacy, be your compass. This kind of growth is slower, quieter, but infinitely more sustainable. It doesn't demand perfection, it invites authenticity. It doesn't ask you to fix yourself. It invites you to meet yourself. As Rumi beautifully said, try not to resist the changes that come your way. Instead, let life live through you. There's no final version of you waiting at the end of some checklist. The idea that you'll arrive is a myth. You are not a goal, you are a garden. And gardens are meant to be tended, not conquered.